Thank you very much. I'm a grain farmer from Western Australia and a 2017 Nuffield Scholarship recipient from Morawa. I live 400 kilometres north of Perth, and we farm approximately 6,500 hectares every year of mainly wheat, canola and lupins. My Nuffield looked at encouraging daughters in family farming. The research was supported by the GRDC, and thank you very much to the GRDC for supporting Nuffield. It is such a great, it is so great that GRDC are supportive of women in agriculture initiatives around the country. I would like to thank my family and who have supported me in every aspect of my life, especially when it comes to farming. A special mention to my folks, as they are here in the crowd today, and they are hugely supportive of Nuffield and this scholarship. They're actually taking off on a camping trip, driving back to Western Australia, so good luck to them. My research question was how to encourage and engage the next generation of young women to become farm successors. The research was formed on the back of my own experience coming back to the family farm in 2013, and at that stage we'd started succession discussions. That started around the time that my sister took on my granddad's farm with her husband. Me and my middle sister are interested in the family farm, and my other sister is off farm and she lives in Victoria. My parents always encouraged us on the farm, and we were always involved in the family farm. My sister and her husband, as I mentioned, buying my granddad's farm opened up the discussions about where we're going as a family. It has evolved over time, and slowly, bit by bit, we are slowly getting a handle where that's going. In Australia, it is estimated that only 10% of farm successors are daughters. This does come down to a history of patriarchy and traditional ideas about succession in rural communities. However, women are taking on diverse roles in agriculture, especially in farm management. And should we be encouraging our daughters to become farmers, we will be harnessing the challenging and connected global environment that we live in. Women bring a diverse set of skills to the industry, especially when it comes to decision making. There has been a lot of global pressure around the world for gender equality, not just in agriculture. This means that women have been wanting to get involved in the decision making. They wanted to get involved in creating the new ideas, and they want to be involved in the change. Women view themselves in farming as custodians of land. They have a heightened ecological awareness, and they see subtle changes to the way that the land changes. We also have a very clear picture of the needs for sustainability. We are good collaborators, and we will use our gut instinct to seek the truth. There is enormous potential there to tap into, to capitalise on women's strengths, and through assisting daughters with purchasing, leasing and share farming in leadership roles within our farms, and the older generation's explicit recognition for our contribution to farming, we can alter the patterns of male dominance in our industry. Women express a keen desire to be innovators, and if they were given a chance, and we were given the chance to do that, this could have huge implications for business competitiveness. Investing in women is a vital step to improving the health and longevity of the family farm business and the sustainability of rural Australia. But to fully exploit the opportunities afforded by women, our industry really needs to anticipate rather than react to change. Succession patterns are changing, and it is just a matter of time before more and more women come back to their family farm. We definitely will start to see women become engaged over the next coming decades, and actually it's very much on our horizon as we speak. There is a higher number of women entering university in agricultural courses than ever before, and actually Nuffield has awarded more scholarships to women this year, and I think that's a true testimony to women farmers. We really need to foster an environment in farming and in our industry that is inclusive of women. And we can reflect on the missed opportunities of the past for all those women that hadn't had the chance to come back to their family farm, but it is really important to look forward. This is why my research focuses on the way forward for daughters. There has been a strong upward trend, as I said, in daughters coming back to the family farm, and I wanted to have a look at just how these farms were integrating their women into their structures. I've just got two slides up on the same screen, so that's a bit confusing. Which one have you got there? Okay, so I wanted to see farms on my travels that had these women coming back and how they were improving and building on that talent. So what were they doing, what differently? And is there any commonalities in these businesses that we can say this is what we should be doing? Actually, in fact, I've found that Australia is very much on par with Canada and US, and Europe is lagging behind, which was very interesting. I visited 13 countries, approximately 100 meetings, and I went to the US, Canada, Mexico, Netherlands, Germany, Denmark and Nepal on my personal travels. I mostly spoke to daughters, but also to their families and the industry people about this subject. I was lucky enough to go to a Nuffield International event for the International Food and Agribusiness Network in New York last year, and an out of the blue invitation to the World Bank IMF meetings last year as a guest speaker. As Wayne was explaining before, there's opportunities arising for Nuffield scholars, and hopefully I'll be able to explain this topic at the World Food Security annual meetings this year. So I wanted to search to see how family farms were integrating their women into their business models, and I wanted to see how they're performing well. Then share the information with you as a way of communicating the way forward. Given the significant barriers women have faced in the past, we really need to be evolving away from the expectation and assumption that only sons are going to come back to family farms. When it comes down to it, the livestock industry in Australia is far ahead of the curve, and there is, for a long time, women have been managing vast amounts of space in our outback for a very long time. Although the numbers aren't there in the crop industry as yet, bit by bit, women-led farms through family farm succession will present itself, and I think this is good just on the horizon. In my short amount of time as a farmer, I've seen a broad range of ways that women can get involved and develop their capacity. One of the outcomes of my research is that I found that certain structures were coming out through and through each time. I noticed that these farms that had engaged daughters were family corporations. That was the most common. The parents had set up an entity that the daughters could buy shares, and this is often done by monthly instalments, so almost like a mortgage. Sibling partnerships were more common in Australia, I believe. Brother and sister working with or without their partner, buying into the ownership of the family farm. This just proves that women can collaborate with their brothers. Family trusts are common in Australia, but this is really important. This is a really important point. Every family that I met always spoke about tax implications. Passing the farm down to either a son or a daughter have to make sure that you're setting up a structure that's going to reduce the burden and conflict. Women were using contract farming, very common in Ontario, and women were taking advantage of the fact that they had people around them that could really loved machinery and really could use that, really wanted to use that. A lot of women most concentrated on growing good crops and ensuring they get the agronomy and soil health right. So I believe that this is not tapped into in Australia just as much as we need to see. Marianne is a really good example of a daughter that's very involved on her family farm. She's the animal nutritionist, and she does all of the work to do with the cows. So her brother does the cropping side of things, her husband fixes things, and he was an artist. So it just proves that it doesn't have to be from you don't have to be from a farming background to come back as a partner in a business. This business wasn't a corporation, it was a joint venture structure. Every individual was liable as individuals, and when the parents want to retire, Marianne, her husband, her brother will buy out her parents' shares in that structure. Some of the common characteristics of family farms that are engaging to daughters, as I mentioned before, that's either through a mortgage type arrangement or vendor's terms, but there's early intervention. There's always regular communication, and sometimes there's board structures set up in place with external advisors. Daughters must have 5 to 50% of fiscal responsibility in order to be engaged. This was really important, and they said that it just motivates them to improve the farm. And if they didn't have it, and they were disengaged. Performance-based pay was another thing that kept coming up through and through, and I just want to say that it's a really great mechanism for engagement. They have a share of the financial incentive based on the yield, or whether it's hooked to the animal or the milk proteins, whatever it is, but it's something to be discussed in all our packages, I guess. I've touched on the tax planning. That's very common also in the Netherlands and Germany, Denmark. Kaylin was one of 6 siblings coming back to the farm, and this is a good example of a sole successor. That's a daughter. She owns 35% of the family corporation's operating entity, so this doesn't own any of the land, just the machinery and the short-term capital, and her parents own 100% of the land company, and eventually she'll rent that off her parents. If I could say one thing about this girl, she was highly inspirational, talking on the two-way, to her dad, talking to me, and harvesting and emptying into the chase bin at the same time. And I was just like, we had a very good discussion about the community and support, and she said everyone, when I first came back to work on the farm, they thought that I was just coming back and working for the summer, but I really want to have a crack here, and I just want more, I want to have more support. And the questions of, are you going to find a husband, she just flicks them off like, oh, it doesn't matter. But I think that just shows that there's women out there that do want to have the backing of their community. Some of the roles that kept coming through are animal husbandry. Women have studied animal science or vet science and are really interested in actually creating a role for themselves in the business. This is very common in the dairy industry. Agronomy, so women going and studying plant science to become an agronomist on their family farm. And marketing was really good one. I love this, whether it's director marketing, online marketing, but communicating with marketers. They've actually had that experience and really want to utilise that, maximise their strengths. Value adding to the existing operation, and that may involve using the farm produce for something else, that's a bit different. So growing, maybe having a seed business on the side, or they had the milk they were using to make cheese, or there's agri-tourism, there's a lot of options there, but they were doing something different. What are our next steps? So, like Dan touched on, from a very young age, we need to be engaged. Transfer the skills and give the daughters every opportunities to learn the ropes. This study points to a paradigm shift in agriculture and the structural changes to the way people think about succession. Build awareness and knowledge in the industry about daughter succession is extremely valuable to young, enthusiastic, potential female farmers. This guy in the Netherlands, he said to me, everybody says I need to have a son who's going to come home to the farm, and they always say, you need a boy, and he quickly said, but I have 5 daughters who could come and take over, and they can all come back and we can all run it together. I really, really love that. Daughters represent an untapped resource in agriculture. Although the statistics are 10% at the moment, and they're not going to change overnight, but one by one we can all have a lasting impact on agriculture if we be careful and just think about things. Who are the role models in your area? And can you do something about this yourselves in showing that women are capable, and women have been doing this for a long time? Although the cases are not really spoken about, they are there. And as a parent, how gender neutral are you? Thank you.